really good after a very productive, probably too productive week.
Great. And how's your physical well-being?
Making some progress. I got to do some walking yesterday and not regret it very much today, and being able to do that just so it feeds my soul. So it's nice to feel that progress and things. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, of course. I'm always thinking about it. Like I
Yeah.
was like, should I ask him if he's okay to go? I'm just like, he'll tell me. I don't want to,
Yeah.
right? There's a meet helping meet him on, for me, like don't overdo it with me, right? It's just like don't treat me like I'm made of candy
Yeah.
that can melt in the rain. Um, and that makes it this is it's part of maybe what we can talk about today, but it's like I can take care of myself and you can take care of yourself, right? We're adults. um so what I'm thinking about talking today is a hard subject. It's SA. It's, oh my gosh, it's so big right now on the internet, in social media. The whole thing, you probably know that CNN did a big expose,
Yeah.
and there's all this chatter, and there's all this things that are important are being talked about, and there's some funny things that are being said, and I don't know if you're comfortable having this conversation. So why don't you just sit with that for a minute while we do meditation, and like
Sure.
really, because I don't want to put you in a situation that is uncomfortable for your own self, or for talking about stuff in public that you don't want to talk about. So why don't we do meditation? Is that okay?
Yeah, great.
Okay. Pain is up all of a sudden. So let's ground. Oh, what is the rise? So ground, 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 ground and center and release, and there's programming coming out. Boy, I sure do know how to stimulate energy. Um, and let's put that programming siphon out at the edge of the aura and just siphon out everything coming out from everybody else. Because my theory, part of abuse is stuff gets shoved into us and bad things happen, right? We get energy. That's the energetic abuse that happens. And so anyway, just talking about it, it comes out with programming. It's like, oh, I don't have to keep some of these, not just ideas and beliefs or shoulds and oughts, but energy, emotion. A lot of pictures I see in the space are about having to put up with, which is victim. So anyway, releasing and centering and breathing and sun. Energy, earth and cosmic, raise the vibration. All right, what are you noticing?
Yeah, I was working with your really provocative question, and I think I'm interested in doing this conversation. Um, can I talk to you? Can like I'm just kind of say out loud more for me than anybody else about like the vantage point I'm going to enter into this conversation from. Um, and have been doing all this really amazing work in my meditations and in my work with you and in therapy and stuff. And it comes down to the idea that, like, right in the dead middle of the pandemic, a whole bunch of my dreams came true. And as like perverse as that is, and I still am the same knuckleheaded doofus that was around prior to achieving things. That the story I always had for myself is, once you are a published writer, once you have domestic stability, once you feel really competent in your 9 to 5 job and things, then you're going to be this like enlightened being who no longer has to chop wood and carry water. Like, they even warn you
Right.
about the fact that there's
Yep.
still chopping wood and carrying water. And so anyway, my I feel like an egg about to be hatched, and I feel like a seed looking for the ground. And I'm doing all this like redefining of who I am. And so I've had a certain relationship with the topic of sexual abuse. And I think this conversation is a really good um opportunity for me to figure out how new Jeff is gonna like relate to that whole topic. Maybe a little less as a victim and that kind of stuff.
Cool. Okay. And can I just delve into, because I'm pretty interested in our dreams coming
Yeah.
true. Um, what you named seemed in the world, which is great. That's where people think of the dreams.
Mhm.
Um, what about on the inside, the fulfillment, the whatever you're looking for? Did that come round too?
I think the story I told myself is that they were going to bring that internal fulfillment. And it's two different worlds, and all the stuff in that physical world is awfully groovy. I love me a good bacon cheeseburger. But if there's any like transcendence to be had, it's when I have a cheeseburger in my mouth, to be in that moment enjoying the cheeseburger in my mouth, and not sorry for my vegetarian friends, and I'm recalling that you're most of the way to a vegetarian, so maybe I could pick a less
No, it's
triggering
great. Keep going.
metaphor for folks, but yeah.
Okay, so you got this outside fulfillment, and now you're more working. You were before, but even more
Yeah.
like on the
I,
inside.
yeah, I spent 2 years like, well, achieving those the first time didn't do it. So I guess I'm just going to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Um, I very slowly slid into this sort of depression and stuff, because it was like, well, just going to keep the goals the same and assume that maybe when it happens 2 or 3 times, that's where the satisfaction will be.
Mm, I know.
Um,
I know. It's the human challenge. It's the American dream problem, really. It's
yeah,
like always more, and
yes.
never enough.
Yeah, and it's like the Buddhists have so much wisdom in this corner of the world. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
grokking how much it's about the changing my relationship to desire, instead of just like lining up a new thing to be like in the crosshairs of my desire machine.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I thought, maybe I'll just share a little about me.
Yeah,
Is
I'd
that
love
a
that.
good time?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I kind of have the opposite. Like I keep iterating on the inside, but I am fulfilled, right? Like I am clear. Like I have found what I'm looking for. I've been saying that for a long time. That wonderful song by U2 that was like my anthem. I haven't found what I'm looking for. I've tried
Yeah,
religion,
yeah.
I've tried sex and love, I've tried, right? Like all these things, and yeah, the world, and not getting there. Um, but I have been there for a really long time, and it keeps getting deeper, and that's just wild. It's wild. And it's not like I'm like happy every minute or things are always going my way. Usually they're not, because but you know how it is. But I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything I always wanted in here is happening. And also my relationships are great, which is like so central for me. there's some that aren't. They're painfully not. But like, what can you do? Right? Like, but my needs are met relationally. That's more important. Like, they're so met within that it's like easy to get them met outside me. And I have a great partner, not that we don't have challenge, because we do. But I have a great partner. Um and I have some really wonderful close friends, and I have work that so meets my needs um for meaning and for connection and for making a difference and connecting with people intimately and stuff. So like, dude, like, and then I have this amazing life, basically camping is a lifestyle. Basically, I mean, can you hear the birds? So, I sleep outside every day, basically, unless it's a terrible storm. And in a screen tent in which, I can see in 360 directions and here in 360. It's just incredible.
Mhm.
Um, most of the time, most of my life, that's where I am. I'm camping as a lifestyle, which is awesome. And then, of course, challenging. There's things like rain and bugs and mess and right. But that's life. So I'm having this out of the box life that I really wanted. In beautiful, sublime nature and moving in nature and amazing living water I get to swim in for most of the year, either the way out into the Lake Superior or amazing springs here in Florida. So, there's always like I'm still figuring out money. I'm still figuring out how to make a difference in my ministry that's larger, because I feel like there's so much to share, not because I haven't made enough difference. Like if I die today, I'm like, good. I'm like, I'm handled. Like I've made a difference to, kind of justify my i- footprint, um, more than enough. But like I would like to share more if that's the way. So anyway, that's my overarching, but it's like it's all driven from this incredible like why I share, because it's like, oh my gosh, I really can be fulfilled within. And it took me a long time, right? So broken, and pain was so big. And still, I deal with my physical health is a definite thing, but it used to dominate my life. And now it's just something I live around, which is a very different thing. Um, so anyway, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Anything you have to say about that?
Um, before as you were talking about living with your physical challenges, before it was out of your mouth talking about living with, I was going to comment something similar about it seems like even that you kind of dance with is my observation. Like, oh, when you got the head issue over, was it last summer and things, I
Okay.
was really I guess impressed in a way to watch in your accounts of how things were going. You not only took it in stride, but there was a sense of, well, this is what I can do, so this is what I'm gonna do for this time. And if next week I can do more, then next week I will. And it was I don't know, it was sort of instructive for me, I guess.
Yeah. And it's still like that. But it's way better.
Yeah.
Um, I have a lot of muscle in being with what is, and I absolutely know the way of stopping suffering. I mean, it's merely to die and the soul, right? What I want, who I think I am, how I think it should be. Like it's not easy, but it's a muscle
Yeah.
we can grow, and I've been growing it. And it's a trust we can build, and I've been building it. And yeah, sometimes I get hooked. Sometimes I have to cry. Sometimes I feel sorry for myself. Sometimes I'm frustrated when I mean to do something and I trip. and make a big mess. It's like, oh, I thought my foot, just I thought my foot could come up and over this thing, but it can't because it just, and it's just like, then I like, it's a mess. But that's just a metaphor, but it's true also. But so I don't want to make it sound like I live on a cloud because I so
Yeah.
often don't. Um, but it's like there is a way to suffer less. And yeah, it takes, well, what I say about this practice, it's a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. So yeah, there's lots of tools. They all take a minute to learn. Okay, so that's no time. You can learn the basics of this if I just laid it out in, say, 2 or 3 hours, if I just laid it all out, right? But it's like that's not the answer is not knowing in the noggin, right? If it was, everybody talks about this, right? If it was, then I'm just realizing I have to plug in. If it was, like, we'd all be thin, we'd all be thin with long hair or whatever it is, we'd all be rich and
Yes.
famous. We'd all be, right? Like, it's not just about knowing, it's about can we be it, which is a whole different thing. And that takes practice. And it goes together with my whole thing that I'm always talking about, which is, we have a spiritual experience, and then people are like, I've arrived. I experienced God. I experienced the light. I experienced the oneness. I experienced, right? And it's like, no, you took a vacation there. You visited there. You
Yeah.
had a date there. Um, and then go back to your life already in progress, and it doesn't get integrated. And so that's just theory. It's just a moment. Whereas, but what if we integrate that? I'm light. I mean, that's not news. Uh-oh, wait, something's happening. Did you lose me?
The audio capped. Your face was frozen for a moment, but I heard you all the way through.
Oh, great. Okay. So we um we already read in the Christian Bible, like, you are the light of the world. This is not news. And and then we perhaps when we experience it in our soul, it's like, dude, that, oh my God, right? Or when Thomas Merton talks about seeing others as light walking or whatever words he says, right? Like that they're the light of the world too. Um, just people. But but what the but the work of it is integrating that into the soul and the body and the life and the world and communication and relationships and work and play, right? Like that's the work. It's like that's bringing heaven to earth. I know we've talked about this before like 100 times, but like I can't stop saying it because I think we all get caught there. Well, I already know this.
Yeah.
And somebody else or us, we're just like, oh, dude, the oneness, and like some people get that through meditation or through just a vision drops or through some kind of altering substances or through sex or like whatever it is. Um, and it doesn't matter. The point is, it's like, okay, now I've seen the mountaintop. What I'm being reminded, but I don't have the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. He's just like, I've had a dream, right? Where we're sisters and brothers or whatever the heck he said, right? Where like we can love each other and be functional and healthy or whatever. He didn't say that, but something like that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like where the children can play together. And then the gap, the shadow is between here and there. It's always between here and there. And that is where the work is. So anyway, on and on. Anything you have to say?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, all right. So we're going to talk about SA and I think I said it before we started the video that right now there was a big drop of interesting information from CNN, who had been doing an ongoing series apparently on equality, and this is the finale, and it's talking about let me see, basically exposing a global grape academy. I'll try to say that. I'm not so good at it. Um, and what's interesting to me about it is that it feels like there's new and different social media, etc., conversations happening because of that. And in real life conversations. Like some of what I was reading in the last day or two, I was sharing some with Michael and noticing how it landed. And what's great about Michael is that he is really good at most of the time at letting me be me, do me, say me, right? Like, and how I see the world has iterated 1,000 times since we got together. And he's just like, oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. And he has a heart of gold. We have amazing v- um, values match. And he's not, he's not really interested in the theory, right? He just wants to be everybody to be equal. He doesn't want to talk about it. He's right. Um, so it was fascinating to watch me share some stuff and him just be like, uh-huh. But the good part was when I gave some numbers about this Grape Academy thing and what's happening, he actually was like it hit him.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
news in my world. Like something around this hit him because I'm always saying feministy shit, like, and he's just like, hmm, like whatever. But he wouldn't be my partner unless he was at heart that I'm equal with him, right? Because I was just like, I'm never getting married, and I didn't because I do not want, and I never did want anything that looked like anything anybody else had. Um, so, but somehow miraculously, I found a partner who could be a partner to me in a male body. And that's pretty amazing. So anyway, blah blah, Michael. But something's happening and it's landing differently and people are talking. So I wanted to talk to you about it. Do you have anything to say?
Um, some of my experience, I don't know how many folks, I guess this would be mostly men, probably white men in relatively privileged positions like mine. I like people would correctly deduce that I'm white if they saw me. They would correctly deduce I'm in a male body. I have identified as Christian or Christian adjacent, and so like I check all the right boxes for being in the empowered uh, category. And as somebody who wants to be sensitive to it, my journey, I think, has been echoed by a lot of people. I remember being much more moderate 30 years ago and hearing people from marginalized communities say things that did not square with the reality I was experiencing
Yeah.
at that time. And a lot of my journey has been to deal with my own like sort of sorrow at not validating the things, like police brutality is probably a prime example. And like stuff about rape culture is also a really prime example of, in 1995, partially because the world was a different place, partially because um, it wasn't open to the stories I was being told by people from marginalized communities. I was like, no, it can't be that bad. Come on. And
Totally.
then one by one, like the Me Too movement happens, and we see that these like um things we'd heard in anecdotal conversations and frankly probably had a tendency to like want to poo-poo just to like soothe our own nervous systems that the world isn't this like horrible and those kinds of things. So So, from the male perspective, that's my sense with sympathetic voices about one of the things that's been going on with that stuff.
Yeah. And I just want to interject here and say, yes, no, no, man, right? I'm not saying that just because it needs said, but because in my life, I know extraordinary men, um, current and former lovers, right? Like current and former people that I'm bonded with on a very deep level that I would trust to the end of the earth, with children, with women, with men, with right. Like it's just like so. That's really important to say. Um, I find myself in women's space defending men all the time, and in and then in shared space doing the other side.
Yeah.
Um, because it can get kind of bruising over there, um, for good reasons. But the important part, I think, of this conversation is that, there's patriarchy stuff, there's the sexism
Yeah.
stuff that men are a certain thing and have a certain thing and are have more power and this and that. And and should be leaders. Um, and then there's um the mighty penis. The mighty like the incredible sex drive that some men have. Um and aggression and unprocessed shit. It's a mighty mix. Um and I do want to say that a lot of men in our culture are raised to just throw everything in the shadow, throw everything, shove
Yeah.
it all down, everything except like anger and elitism or something, like everything that's not the perfect male mold, you know, boys, a lot of boys learn so early not to cry. So, and now there's more counseling and stuff, but still there's just so much to process as you are doing.
Yeah. And I think it's right for that we can have this space. And I hope somebody is watching because I think it's beautiful for you to be able to say that. Um, and while we hold all the things you're saying are totally true, the thing that as the male presenting person and the male and the sort of more privileged one in lots of ways, I want to say, dudes, we got to get our shit together. We can do better. um it's not like we're not the center of the story. And if people had to spend less energy soothing our nervous systems, the world would be such a better place. So like, guys, let's grow a pair of ovaries so we can withstand a little bit of suffering or something. um at the same time of, yes, it's hard. It's hard for all of us, and there's certainly good reasons that we have said and done stupid things, but now it's time to do smart things.
Yeah. And also that there are many men and whatever gender and children that suffer under the patriarchy. Most people are suffering under the patriarchy. Um, and I'm just using that word because it's easy.
Yeah.
But under sexism and privilege. So, and it's more than that. It's it's positional and taken power, forced power. Um, and a lot of us it's just the water we swim in. So I'm going to keep going, but I do want to say that the most amazing, like, it's very validating for me because I've read a few different things, and there's this one lady, I wish I had it, but I read her yesterday, and she was saying that we all what's that thing where you read or watch a movie or whatever, and you take away your like, oh, that can't happen because it's in space. We
Not cognitive dissonance,
it's
suspension of disbelief.
yeah, and her whole thing was that for women to deal with men and be in relationship with men, there's always all this suspension of disbelief. Oh, we know that these are statistics, but not here, not now, not with this person, not. So that was one of her points, but the overarching point. But there was this one paragraph that was it's the only one I read to Michael because it was just so intense. I'm like, I don't need to put this in this space. But it was so validating because like most women I know were raised to just be super hyper vigilant and basically trust no men with women and children. And mm, I'm mostly there. Like it's so like it's just like breathing. And then as I said, there are men who get into the trust circle, but like they have to fucking earn it. They have to really earn
Fair.
it. Right? Or they get watched like hawks. Um And it was saying like, it's sung over us in our cribs, it's braided into our hair, it's right, it's just like this incessant, it's emotional fucking labor is what it is. Of and seeing the world. I mean, it's just a horrific way to live and to be raised. And it's just like I've been chipping away on it my whole life. I've been known to go out into the wilderness by myself for days, like which just is like so verboten, right? All by myself in the wilderness, like that is
Yeah.
verboten. Yeah, I do all these things. I walk at night by myself. I am paying attention. I have spiritual senses. I have physical senses. I'm working with angels. I'm always doing it. And I have always have a plan and I always have, right? Like it never stops. Which house is safe? How many, where's the light? Where's the people? Where's the, who on the street can I trust? It's never goes away, but I'm constantly overcoming it, making more and more space so I can have a life like a
Mhm.
person. And there are people, there's women who don't go outside at night. There's people, it's just, there's just all this, it's very sad. But to be, I think it's being talked about more, which is really validating. And I
Mm.
know I've told you, like when I went to Baja for 9 weeks, I didn't notice it then because I was up against it. I was sleeping on the beaches. I was doing all these things that were scary, you know? But because of my white privilege and my in two things happened when I came back into the US. I crossed the line and I went from seeming rich to poor. Like the first RV place we went to take a shower, they wouldn't let us in because our RV was too old. Whereas like we're just so opulently rich with that old jalopy I mean, it was just like, wow, seriously, rich to poor, just crossing the line. And the other one was the pall. I've told you this, but the pall, it was like one of those ghost blanket sheets that came back over me when I came into the country
Mm.
and nothing happened, but I felt it.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, like there's a way that I was safe there, probably because I was white. And, there's a whole lot of stuff there about like, don't mess with the gringos coming in Baja back then. Um, but it was really overt coming back in the country. And I've only experienced that a little bit up in like the little small town from nowhere, um, up by Lake Superior a little bit. There's a little encroachment, but I can feel predators. Like I go in the wilderness and there's this one place I went to, DuPont. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. It's this whole big land that was ruined by upon chemical, but it has all these beautiful waterfalls and all these amazing hiking trails and great biking trails all over the place. So I'm like, I'd get up like with the sun, before the sun, and be hiking like before the sun's really up on these, and like packs of guys would be coming from behind me and I could hear them. And I'd just be like, these guys are fine. These guys are not fine. Let me step into the woods. I think that's just how it is. Same thing backpacking, you know, be on my own. And that thing with, you know, backpacking in the fall from when I was young. It's just like, okay, more than one man talking, you can hear them coming, and they have guns, they're hunting. Like, I don't need that shit. You know, like I don't need to roll the dice on that, right? It's way before bear and man conversations, but it's just like bears are not an issue for me. Um and but it's just like, okay, I hear them coming. I'll just step off into the woods and no need to deal with me. Right. And so it's just so interesting. I can feel the predators coming. And this little town I'm talking about, it's like going back generations, I swear. You know, everything, like people leave shit everywhere. Nobody's stealing anything. It's bizarre, but there's people who come and every now and then I'm just like, oh, it's so bizarre. It's like everything's fine and then there's this clang. It's just like this is not fine. So anyway, on and on. It's just fascinating like that not everybody lives like that. I don't know. You have your own story. Like, is there any of that in your world? Any of that you have to be hyper vigilant. You can't walk at night. You have to have a buddy. You can't go in the woods by yourself. Do you have any of that?
You know, I don't think I do. This reminds me a lot of being, God, I don't remember what it was. It was maybe an activist training or something I was at, but they had us open with, imagine a world where there's no sexual assault. And I thought, oh, isn't that a nice thought? And the women were weeping. And that was my moment of like, holy fuck, this is two different universes. I'm living in such a like safe and protected universe, and it hit them, clearly so deep, that it was, and I suspect that might have even been part of the point of the exercise was to help, like sort of shock some of the dudes out of their privilege, like myself. Um, but I don't experience it in the same way as you do at all. Um, I do. Um, there is a dangerousness about masculinity for me. There's not too many times I'm in a situation where I'm specifically threatened by one person, by a specific person. So I think it's much less like impactful on my life in lots of ways. And the other thing I was thinking about as you were talking about this is what a deep mind fuck it is. Because I feel like as a guy, I was socialized to be able to say, I don't want to spend time with you. You're just an idiot. And women aren't given that out very much. So on the one hand, it feels like we're training women to be afraid of everybody, but also act like everybody is their best friend. Um, and like, how could you? Like, at that point, it would seem like you're not even trusting yourself, maybe, if you're living so kind of duplicitously in things.
There's definitely a dissonance.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when I grew up, this man has a, good deal of the power in the house and abuses it all the time. And he's my father and I love him. Right? Same, it's just that's crazy shit. But also he clearly is not equipped or mature enough to handle it. And I like that's what always comes it's in Christian space. That's what always comes up for me. It's like there's all this claim of like men are supposed to lead, but no like creating men who can lead for real. I mean, they can throw their weight around and but can they lead? Can they listen spiritually? Can they emotionally regulate? Can they think clearly? Can they actually fucking lead? And like it's just like in my experience, no,
Yeah.
right? But like that's what's thrown down our faces and that's the world we live in and we have to accommodate. So it there's a lot of weird shit. There's a lot of dissonance actually. But the most important thing is, as far as I'm concerned, is we're trained a lot, and a lot of us in this culture are trained a lot to not listen to our spidey senses, to not listen to our bodies, right? I mean, it's this long road of healing back to pay attention. But I always had it, but could I listen? I mean, I was just like, I used a lot of my soul senses to be just like, all right, okay, like, when's the bad stuff happening? It didn't save me. So, but also, like, what do I say to make it better? Right? It's just like, well, the honest truth is what I came to is that I was trained to lie, which didn't work in the regular world. Then I had to figure out it all like over again. But in my home, like I was trained to lie, full stop. And no matter, like, I just be like, because I have a good mind and a good psychic capacity. I'm just like, what can I say to make this not worse? That's pretty much the choices I had. And it's just like I tried everything. And then I was finally like, the best thing I could say is, I don't know. So I did lose my knowing, not just saying, but losing it. I had to gain it back. Took years um, of knowing my knowingness. Um, yeah, pretty debilitating. Hide, freeze were the way to try to survive. So, yeah, it takes so long. It takes so much to come back from that. And that's on top of all this other stuff, right? It's like, okay. And the numbers say it. It's a big fucking lie. Yes, we need to lock our doors and be careful outside but it's most likely that how do they say it? The whatever's in the house for so many of us. And it depends on how careful, how fine-tuned we are about it. I was just reading a related thing in the last couple of days. I read a few things the last couple of days, and it's just like men are allowed to rage and women aren't. And when women rage, it's the end of the fucking world.
Right.
Um, and men, it's just like Tuesday.
Yeah. This is me
Um,
being logical. I'm doing my godly duty of advocating for my family or some other pile of steaming horse shit.
so anyway, um, there's a lot of layers here,
Yeah.
and the good part is, the work we do, the meditation, the tools, the distinctions, I think it helps because it's just like, okay, well, this is not healed in a day. This doesn't go away with a pill unless it's like really good shit. You know? And then it comes back. But layer by layer, we can unpack this stuff and get free and then make choices and still in the world we have stay safe, but not live like it's not true that all the men are out to get us. So that needs to be deconstructed and set up new ways to notice, am I safe or am I not safe? Are they safe or are they not safe? What do we do about it? Um, in a much more refined way that makes so much more space for life and joy and ease and love and connection healing everybody. And I think that's the way, because like we heal more people and that heals more people. And there's a lot of talk about men taking men to task, and that's fine, but the examples I've read recently are pretty shaming. And adding shame, I don't think it works. I think that just drives things underground more, right? It's like, okay, they might not speak like that in front of you anymore, but does that mean they're not doing it? And I think that's part of what this is about. This is like this whole grape thing about drugging women, not just date rape stuff, but like your wife of 20 years or like whatever it is. I think it's like things gone quiet and people sharing about it and bonding about it and making whole new normalizations and whole new um I don't know how to say it, things to be sexualized by, things I mean, since when is fucking a sleeping person exciting, right? But they've made it that, and then there it is. So that is all because humans are so bent. And I think the way is that we all just keep unbending and loving them with us. And we've had this conversation with you. We both believe that love is the way, and like we might see it differently depending on the circumstance, but it's just like, can I love them and keep on bending? And so I'm doing the modeling and I'm doing the space and I'm keeping safe while doing it. And I think that's a better way than, yes, yes. I mean, what I've seen about men confronting each other is, yes, it can change. Hopefully, it can change the culture of that group. Maybe it changes the person. Michael has a story that his uncle, something about racism, because he was born in like the South, and he'd said something, and his uncle was like, "No, we don't talk like that," because he'd picked it up, and then he tried it out, and he was just like, "Well, that doesn't work." Just like it worked because it was just them, because he wasn't completely shamed, right? Like there's all this stuff, but in a group, I think that you can get you can get some negative results from that. And that's why, and I'll let you talk then. I'm so excited about this initiative that I keep talking about and is on the back burner about men supporting men, like with more tools, more healing, more not just tools on the inside, which are the best, right? But also on the outside, and some structures and some education and some mostly community, right? Of actually caring people. And I'm excited about that because I
Yeah.
think that's the way. And we can see it in new reality because these guys, they're having bad behavior and they're, doing bro connection about it. Like, what if we made bro connection in positive ways that actually helped people instead of hurt people? I think that's possible. And I think they have deep needs and it's not just sex or it's not sex. I mean, they have a left hand and a right hand. So it's not right. It's not really sex. It's or sexual release or whatever. It's other stuff at play that can we get to it, but it's very deep. So anyway, what do you have to say?
I think I'd like to talk about initiation a little bit at this point in our conversation, because to me that's like I don't even know how to quantify this, but for my money, the one magic spell I would give the universe to make it a better place in like one fell swoop would be to end up with men who have gone through rites of initiation in positions of power. We don't have that, and that is the problem of the world, and that's the problem, I think. I mean, there must be other solutions to it as well, but my whole like um, I went through a time that somebody who was really active with men's work in the best possible sense of the word. I kind of want to differentiate that there's two groups that get
Yes.
lumped together. One is
Yes.
all these like chest thumping guys who go out and like I don't know shoot arrows at each other or something, and they're like puffing up like what we would
Yes.
call usually toxic masculinity. And there's
Yes.
another group that has an awareness that for however bazillion years humans have been around,
Yes.
um, men who in many cases have been like the people in power, and who by definition aren't the ones who are like burdened with pregnancy and don't menstruate, um, end up not knowing how to suffer and lose and die. And that makes them children, and running around in grown-ups' bodies.
Yes.
And that if men can go through a ritual of experiencing those things and learning how to do that in a community of other men, it's fucking transformative. And there's not enough men who have gone through that kind of experience at all.
Unfortunately, it's some of the power that war can bring, not always.
Yeah.
There's some really great bonding that happens there along with the men.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the few male bonding areas use some of the best parts of rites of passage and end up putting it to really unhealthy ways. Wars and armies and police officers in a lot of cases, and so on.
Yeah, there's a real
Fo-
brotherhood there.
yeah, football teams.
Yeah. It's funny. I was on a lot of sports teams and I never got that, but I did get it as a Girl Scout counselor residential camp,
Yeah,
just like all day, all night. Here we are, and
yeah,
it's only us, and we got to take care of these kids, and no matter what, and get the job done. And it's hot and it's cold and it's raining, and it's like
yes,
I had some amazing bonding. I'm still close to some of those
yeah.
women
Yeah,
because,
Boy Scouts did some of that for me too, in both very good and very bad ways.
hmm, and you've written about some of them.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Like, how do I make that 2 minutes or less? For anybody who's watching and doesn't know me very well, during my period of starting to slip into that kind of depression because all the things I'd wanted to happen had happened, the book I really got stuck on was a book that focused on a Boy Scout ritual, but really used that as a lens to look at what comes after you lose everything. And so I'm laughing at the whole, like how kind of obvious that was, that there was an element of me going through that, and I felt like I was writing it for everybody else because I felt like I was on the other side of it. But in
Yeah.
fact, I'm still in the middle of it, still
Yeah.
working it all out. So of course that this Moby Dick whale of a concept I was never able to nail down because I'm not, you can't write the story from the middle, I don't think.
We try.
Yeah, we do. We
I'm
do.
I'm done. I'm
Yeah,
baked.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, if we're still in the game, we're still in the game.
Yeah,
So, yeah. Um, okay. So I just want to say that I know that Richard Rohr has been involved with some groups, and I have some friends who did those outgrowth of those groups, and they were very positive for them. Um, and I also want to say that please be having that in your hopper and be writing things down because I want to move on that. Um, it's so needed. And that's the
yeah.
thing. And it's like we're coming at this from compassion, right? We're not saying too many expletives and we're not, it's just like there's
Hmm.
enormous amount of pain and upset and fuckery on the inside that is coming out into our world in ways that we don't like. And so let's get to the bottom of it. And I don't think
Yeah.
beating each other up about it helps. Okay, ready to go on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so, all right, blah, blah, blah. Lots of things happening, blah, blah. Um, I want to say things that aren't being said. I think, people can look online at the CNN stuff and they can look at what's going on in social media. But here's one thing I want to talk about. There's a guy who is about reimagining men or something like that, his branding. And I really found a lot of grist for the mill with what he said because yeah, I mean on one level like it's just like he's all for changing the system and he's all for being an ally with women and he's all for um all that and he so much so that he's branded on it. So thank you. Um there's some things that everyone knows i- in different parts of it's different for different everyone's, but I'm talking about something that came from I think the 80s, which is I'm not saying it does, but in my world it goes under um what's that word? I don't have it. It's down in the thing, so we'll get to it. Um I'll tell you what my issue is with him. He's saying that he literally was saying as a man, our anger, men, our anger is of no use. Our presence, our care, and our willingness to show up for them, women, and then find out what they need, women. And I was like, on one level, that's awesome, right? But there's some kind of construct in there that bothers me. That it's like I think is taught in these kinds of circles about centering the survivor. And I think I just want to talk about that because I think that centering the survivor when you're with them, you know, oh, honey, is really helpful. And there's been times that that hasn't happened, that there was a time that I was almost date raped. I mean, it's the closest I ever came. It was like, it reminded me of the time that I was in the West Coast, one of the first times swimming in the West Coast, which is very different than the East Coast Ocean. And I couldn't get out. The undertow was so strong and it was sweeping me down the thing and it was soon there was no more land. Like it was like I would have been swept out. And I just had to stay with it and stay with it and stay with it until I could get out and not lose it. And that's exactly how the almost date rape was. Same thing. I just had to stay with it and not freak out and not fight and not, right, just be on my game. I had to be so on my game. So I get home to my partner and I I'm just like, oh my God, I made it. Like, oh my God, I made it. And and I'm crying and I'm just like, this is what happened. And my partner was not getting it. My partner was like, but nothing happened. So, and it's just like, oh my God, right? You wouldn't do that, but
Yeah.
my partner
Yeah.
did not get it. And it was just like, I needed to be centered right then and my experience centered, and he could not do it. Right. And so in the moment with the person who's overcoming the trauma, part of trauma is not just what happens, but what happens after. And the space we're given to process and the space we're given to validate. it's not just what happens. For example, little toddlers are always falling down and, they're crying or not crying. It's just like if we can interrupt that crying cycle and go into play, it's okay. But otherwise, it might be 20 minutes of like a mess, right? It's just like if I can be met where I am and honored where I am and validated, then I can just work through it. And in that case, my partner couldn't do it, could not get in my shoes, could not understand this person that I had been with was on much larger and more powerful than me. And I'm not used to that. And I find that very attractive, but it's much more dangerous. And I knew, just like the ocean, it was just like the ocean. So weird. It's like, because I love the ocean because it's so much bigger and more powerful than me. And like, handle it. And anyway, I don't want to go on to that, but it's really important to be able to center the person in the moment, in person, or like if they're reaching out and saying, "Oh my God, I need help. Something just happened." I think that's important. But for some guy on the internet, unrelated to all these things, to feel like he can't have his own response, he only thing he's allowed to say on the internet is to who I don't know, to general women, like I can't have any anger, our presence, our care, willing to show up. Like it has to be all about that for how long? Forever? Like this is not a problem that has an end anytime in sight. It's thousands, maybe millions of years old, who knows? Right? Like this is not. So I feel like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I'm thinking so hard. Please
Oh, should I
continue.
shut up?
No, no, please keep going.
So I know this is I'm going against the grain here. I'm saying in the moment with the person, of course, center them. And the picture when I was thinking about this to talk was the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan takes the person, brings them where they can be cared for, gives the money to care for them, and goes on his damn way. He doesn't spend the rest of his life there taking care of that person or the month it takes to get him back on his feet. He handles it in the moment and gets back to his responsibilities, it centers his own life, having made sure that the person is handled. I think that's a better picture than, and also, here's the thing. It's like, I think that man is allowed to have his own feelings and his own reaction and be able to hold the other reaction on the internet with no one there, right? Why does it have to be one thing?
Yeah.
Can you say, whoever wants to
Yes.
come to me and process, whoever wants to come cry on my shoulder, whoever wants to, I will have tea with you, like whatever the hell, right? I will center you for a half an hour and hear all of your things and right, like that's valid. And I'm really angry and I want to punch men in the nose. I mean, that's how he's feeling. I want to punch men in the nose who are doing this, and that's another thing I want to talk about. But why isn't he allowed to have both? So go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering a lot about what the very bold statement that we're never allowed to be angry means and where it's coming from. Because it could mean something that I think is right, and it could mean something that I think is wrong. Um, and so I'm not necessarily saying this about your specific partner who was having trouble with it, but I know that there's a lot of human beings in the universe in a situation like that who objectively, the person who just experienced the almost date rape, from any logical way of weighing that's a much bigger deal than the partner having to be like, well, I don't want to be like, woe is me for being the partner of somebody who was almost date raped. Like now my story is bigger than your story about what it means to
That is
me
a
if you
problem.
were date raped.
Yes.
Um, um, and like if this guy is saying like, put away your own like sort of centering of you, like you never really get to with this person who's your partner, you never get to say my what I would have to do to reassess my identity is a bigger deal than what you had to do in facing that almost a date rape. So like it would never be okay for him to I don't know, put his identity is more important than the other thing. And maybe that's a stretch to think that's what he would mean by anger. But I guess I'm just yeah, I don't know. I haven't
I
put it all
he
together yet, but
Yeah. He did talk about this some. You know, and he's got all the like he's been trained, right? He's
yeah,
got all the words. And it's just like I think it's a paradigm that needs a little correction
right.
because what he's saying is my our anger is of no use. And I think it is of use. I just think that it needs managed, which is a different thing than no use.
Yes.
And he's turning it saying we should, go not not have it. Or maybe I'm angry not just because of this, but because of stuff that happened to me or blah, blah, blah. So all this like second thinking going on. Um
Yeah.
of all this conceptual stuff that it's like, why do we have to be so careful? I understand it, but no one's there. Like it's one thing if his partner's walking in, it's another he's on the damn internet talking to whoever shows up. So why can't he say, I feel like this for myself and I want to punch him in the nose and own it? And then say, what I really want to do though is to take that and to work with some guys, as I already do, more about honoring people or some shit. And then
Yeah.
and then at the same time, I want to hold and there would be a clearing to be able to center women as they need it and to be coachable. Because we get this coaching that like we have to listen to the victims or the survivors or the whatever, issues might be, race or class or da da da, right? Like it's like they get to drive the car. And I'm always talking about the disambiguation, but also like who gets to drive the car. And it's just like there's this throne to like whoever's the biggest victim gets to drive the car, basically. And I think there's some complaining going on about that picture, not from people like us. And I saw it here for the first time, and that's why I want to talk about it.
Hmm.
I was just like, wait, this isn't quite right. They're right. It isn't quite right that who, because it just makes us fight for who's the biggest victim and keep identifying with victimhood like it's supposed to help us, but it doesn't. So I know I'm saying verboten things, but it doesn't. Like what helps is to figure out how to survive and figure out how to be healthy and figure out how to help the next one and then figure out how to not get people thrown in the river so we have to get them out and then then figure out how to how to be happy and have no SA and right like
Yeah.
but if we're if there's too much payoff and I have to put down my whole life for an interminable amount of time that to center somebody else, like what world? That doesn't make sense. So I know you have probably more education in these kinds of things than I do. How does that land for you?
When I was going to be a philosophy professor in my former life. I took a philosophy course, and I don't recall who a feminism course, a philosophy of feminism course, and I don't remember who it was, but somebody said something that just kicked my ass because there's a level on which that it's kind of undeniable. And what they said was, if you were talking to a police officer or a soldier and they've got a gun at their hip and you've never seen them use that gun, there still is a power differential in that relationship. And a conversation between somebody with a gun in a holster and somebody without a gun, there's a level on which that can never be truly authentic. And her thing is, there's already a power differential between the genders. And so there's a level of like authenticness and communication that we'll never be able to achieve between the genders until like as long as we exist in that kind of societal matrix. And I've come to see that that's a kind of small thing and it doesn't need to like dominate my relationships, particularly with women. But I also think that like even with my wife of 30 years, there's a tiny, tiny way in which the social matrix that we live in that does matter and it does affect the things we do and say to each other. And we can't like get outside of that. Um, and like, so somehow I think it might be a little bit the same with these kinds of conversations. Like I can't halt my maleness when I'm having a conversation with somebody. I can't put that on pause. And like that's always going to loom somewhere in the context of the interactions we're having. So I don't know how I got quite like I'm having a little trouble landing my plane here. But I yeah, I mean maybe the like when this person is telling their story, I, as the responsible partner about being date raped, that should, until you're through the traumatic side of that, you get to be in the center of that story. I
Yeah,
can still have my big feelings about the big story, but if my expressions of rage are prolonging your experiences of suffering, I think I've got to bring my feelings somewhere else.
I completely agree. But that's a specialized case. It
But like,
can't
so
go on
this do,
forever.
yeah, but the person on the internet is like in conversation. I guess they chose to publicly engage in a forum that has men. So I suppose, yeah, I'm just thinking about, yeah, I don't know. My God, it's so complicated, Wendy. I don't know.
That's why I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
There's something there for me about, because the other thing that's said, not by us, but other people, is the feminization of men. And I kind of heard it in that. I
yeah,
kind of heard put down my male energy and bring
yes.
in
I was wondering
female
about that with the
energy.
guy who said never be angry. Um,
I
yeah,
So that's a different, I felt it. I'm just like, and I want to make sure we get to like how important it is to not do that from my experience. We
yeah,
need that male energy. We need it. So like what he's saying is our anger is no use. And the energy of anger, as I read it, is ownership, it's protection, it's
yeah,
provision, it's action. And we freaking need all that really bad, directed appropriately, not in service to his ego or his dick, right? But actual for this around the situation, right? So I don't think saying anger is of no use, it's just like that's crazy talk, right? Like we need more ownership
yeah.
energy. We need more action. We need like enough of this. We need like all the enough of this we can find So I'll go more into it with my other story, but I that's what I hear. I'm hearing he's supposed to act like more female energy, and I don't think that's the whole story. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think part of it is that people in general think that emotions just happen to them and their reactions to them and their behavior just follow, and like that in service to like all their own shit, right? And like that's not what we're talking about. So that's a just, it's like emotions are body communication in my world, period, full stop. And yes, they cause movement, they cause emotion, they cause motion. There are chemicals in the body and they cause motion and for to help the body and other bodies. And that's awesome. And they're not allowed to drive. That's the important part of the conversation. They're not allowed to drive the car. And if you don't let them drive the car, then we can use that energy for the best and highest of all the people involved. But that's not the structure that they're looking at. And that causes saying, well, you just can't, your anger is of no use here.
Yeah.
So, but she's
Yeah.
like, what do you do with it? Like, here you are. Here's the anger, here's the chemicals, here's the stuff, and you're supposed to be all nurturing while the anger is going, just it's like it's not sensical. And so it just pleads for the capacity to stay in charge when the big emotions come and the capacity to make choices that are bigger than the emotions. That's my listening to it. And also to really honor the male and the female energy in whatever gendered body we have because we need them both, period, full stop. I'm just so strong about that. And
Yeah.
this guy in a male body is saying, our anger is no use. It's just like, and I'll give you a story in which it's like, it changed my life. The anger of a man in my distress changed my life. And so I will get to that story, but first you tell me what you're thinking.
Um, Put a pause on this if this is that like I think the answer to this question matters, but it might not be for now. Um, I experience in the world that there are two sort of forces. I like yin and yang kind of language for them. I appreciate that we identify one with male and one with female. Like, well, no, I don't actually appreciate it. I guess that's what I'm questioning. Like we call it masculine energy. Do you see or suspect that ovaries are actually connected to, I think that would be yin, but maybe it's yang, I don't know. Well, like, is there an inherent connection with my maleness and the anger stuff, do you think?
Everybody has anger. Anybody healthy has anger.
Yeah, right.
Women are socialized out of it a lot of time,
Yeah,
and men are socialized to more a lot of times.
yeah.
My
I agree
concern
with all
about going
that.
to yin and yang is that I don't fully understand it. It's a cultural understanding from a
Yeah,
long time ago, from far away,
yeah,
and the little I've learned about it, they make distinctions that I don't understand, so I can't use it. I can like refer to it as a metaphor, but I can't
yeah,
really lean into it because I don't understand. Whereas for me, I'm just saying male and female energy, it's just as easy to say active and receptive energy.
yeah. I guess that, yeah, that's what I was asking. Is it just as sort of accurate in your view to say receptive and
It's all just
active?
words.
Yeah.
But it's the energy of, is it the energy of breaking through? Is the energy of baking in the oven? Is the energy of, right?
Yeah.
Leading and following in a dance. I mean, a lot of my friends, Michael and I, we pass the lead and follow back and forth. Um,
Yeah.
it's not about the genitals. It's about who's the leading. And then the other follows. And some are better and worse at these things, but you get better and at practice. It's just leading and following energy. That's all.
Yeah.
And in my work, in our work, the receptivity is highly valued. Helps us perceive what is and what's possible and be with it. All that is receptive energy. Huge.
Yeah.
And then choose an act, male, more active energy. But knowing what's going on, being with reality is first and not fighting it. So anyway, it's all very packed
Yeah.
language. So somebody coming on this for the first time, it's confusing, but I don't know how to not make it confusing.
Yeah. Right. I don't either.
But the point
Yeah.
is we need and when usually I talk about anger energy, which is so awesome. Um n- but what we're, in the regular life we're talking about anger emotion, which is chemicals in the body that have responses in the body. But they don't drive the car. That's the important part. And for most people they do, and that's why it's, it's a problem for people, I think. What else?
That's about all I had to say. I'm interested to hear your story about the anger of the man that impacted you. Oops, do I still have you?
Yeah, I'm just
Oh,
looking and
okay.
see if I'm done with this thing. Why can't men say? Yeah, yeah, I already said that. Okay, so um blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep up with my notes here.
It's all good.
All right, good enough. Okay, so real quick, what happened is when I was in somewhere in the second half of eighth grade, um I started to be attacked and abused on the bus. And it started with one guy and it just kept growing, the number of guys. And primarily they were trying to like fondle my breasts and touch my breasts, but it became like pack behavior. And I'm like, I have my books and I'm just like, and I'm like just trying to survive. And then, mostly it would happen on the way home. And like, I get off the bus and like, cry on the way home. And the bus driver knew. I watched her watching, and she didn't do anything about it. And all the people on the bus are watching, and nobody did anything about it. Like, and the number of boys just kept growing, and so it was not cool. Um, and one thing to know is that I was very strong and very fast. I was a natural athlete, and not one or maybe even two of those boys I could have probably taken in a fight. I mean, I fought boys and I never lost. Um, it was that I was groomed to be a victim. I was groomed to put up with, and that cycle started and it just got worse and I was stuck. So that happened for, I can't tell you, but maybe a week or two. It was bad. And again, like, it's sad because trauma isn't just what happens, like it's sad that I couldn't talk to my family. I had no one to help me. I felt like, because that's the world I lived in. So anyway, what happened is totally unexpectedly, my boyfriend, I had the same boyfriend most of junior high and high school. And he was like 3 years ahead of me in school. And he unexpectedly showed up at the bus that day. He's supposed to be working like across the county. He went everywhere on his bicycle, but for some reason he came to see me instead. And I get off the bus and I start crying, and then here he is. And he would not take no for an answer until I told him what was going on. And then he was a maniac. He was a maniac. He was like, I'm going to go to the principal and I'm going to da da bada. And he was just like, and it broke the spell for me, who was trained to just put up with and hide. And it broke the spell. It's just like, oh, I matter. And so, I let him blather for a while. And then, get it. And then I'm like, okay, I've got it. Thank you. I'm going to handle it. And if I don't handle it, then you'll handle it, which is really wonderful, right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, he's
Right.
like my older brother, right? I miss him because it's like we grew up together, right? He's like my older brother. But it's like he had my back. And so anyway, I just changed the pattern. I went in and the first one who comes at me, I'm just like, I didn't hurt anybody, but I'm just like, fuck no. Instead of taking it and trying to get smaller, I got big. I'm just like, no. And there was a little pushback and a couple of days, there, it was like so easy to resolve. It was stupid how easy it was to resolve when I stood in my power and my I matter and my like, fuck you, right? Like, and he gave me that by modeling it. And he gave me that by showing me how upset he was and that he was immediately in action, which was, I still have trouble with action. I was trained to hide, right? Right. But he was showing me action. He was talking action. And it's like, oh, action. What a concept, right? So it was like day and night. And I will tell you, it changed my life because not only that, but it's just like I learned this lesson. Like in my own home, I couldn't do it because my father was big. Like he was a man, right? But these boys, they were fucking nothing. They're nothing to me. And I learned it. And I was like, I took that with me. I took it with me up until today, right? Like the more dangerous it is, the bigger I am, the badasser I am, the, like I've stopped on the side of the road on the turnpike in Newark because I stopped to help women. There's women on the side of the road. I've helped women who were in togas on the side of the road running from a party when I was 17. Like I stopped for women, period. I stopped for men too, but women. Like I'm just like, just the other
Yeah.
day, there's this woman on the side of the road. I'm like, why is this young woman on the side of the road with the flashers? So I stop and I go and I give her tons of space and I'm like 10 feet from her window. I'm like, she's like, oh, it's so sweet of you to stop. She had like the emergency. She had to nurse her kid, like nursing emergency, right? And it's just like, that's how it's done, right? It's done
Yeah.
from big, it's done from strong, it's done from, you are not going to fuck with us, right? And like, that's how it goes. Um, and there have been times I stop and and the women are just, there's one time, that time in Newark, I come marching up and I'm like, because I have to be in my power, right? And I go marching up and I'm like, what's going on? What do you need? And it's just like, I've got a cell phone, I've got water, I've got food, I've got, and and they're like, we're good, we just called. And I'm just like, want me to stay with you? Right? Like, it's just like, that's what it looks like to be in our power. That's what I feel like I'm passing on what my boyfriend gave me. I'm
Mm.
saying, we're not the victims. And I learned to live with the outside world that way. The inside world, that wouldn't have worked. But the outside world, just like lying, I had to learn to lie in my house, but then I had to learn to not lie in the world because it doesn't work, because they call you a liar. It's just like, wait a minute, this is like how it goes. I'm supposed to tell you what you want to hear. No, you're supposed to tell the truth. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, like, for men to viscerally, for anybody to viscerally be like, this is not okay, is huge. It's
Yeah.
so important to be just like, this stops now. It's it's life changing for me. And I do it in my work. Like, I'm supposed to be all, and I am neutral and spiritual focused with, I mean, people tell me they're horror, right? And I'm just like, I'm neutral and I'm spiritual focused and I'm helping them from that place. But I always find a time to be just like, all right, let me talk to you like a human for a minute and say, this is not okay. Right? Your human body needs to hear that this is fucking bullshit. And this should never have happened. And I'm so sorry. Right? And let them see that my body is not okay with what they lived through. And then, okay, let's go back and neutrally handle this and clear it. It's so important. But that chutzpah, that permission to say no. And that's not what I'm hearing this guy say. He's like, let's tuck away this anger and let's like see what she
Wow.
needs. Right. And she's like, I don't need
Wow.
fucking female energy right now. And maybe I do, but maybe I need like, I'm going to go fight the monster. Oh, wait, I can fight the monster. Thank you. So, what are you noticing?
Wow. Well, first off, thank you for sharing that story. That's pretty deep stuff.
It's my first
My
time publicly talking about it.
Yeah, wow. Well, thank you for trusting me and whoever else is watching. That's not
Yeah.
easy.
Thanks.
Um, when your boyfriend set you up to, and in the best way, when he said, I've got your, I'll do it if you don't do it. That's like beautiful. Um, and my
Actually, I said
favorite,
that. I said it.
oh, okay. But
I'm like,
that he rolled with it
he did.
was
Yeah.
well done on his behalf.
Yeah, he was
And
kind of an asshole a lot, but he really,
yeah,
really did well in this one.
yeah. I mean, eighth grader with an 11th grader, that like might be a conversation at some point worth.
It was 2.5 years. It was very appropriate.
Okay,
But go ahead.
okay. Um, you didn't like the amazing thing is the power was inside. You just had been talked out of ever using it. It
Yes.
wasn't like they stole it. It wasn't like you needed to go and get something. You didn't go and get a baseball bat and beat them all up. Like the stuff you had had all along was sufficient
Yes.
when he helped you throw off the like chains
Yes. Real
of don't
literally.
act
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yes.
Um and like that's the like most fucked up part and what the most diabolical part of what we do to people. But also a really beautiful aspect of that story of it wasn't like, well, a long time ago I didn't cultivate the things I needed and now I'm in a position I can't take care of myself. It was like you just needed to know it was there in order to do it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, some of the brokenness that we deal with, some of it is right there, and then others of it is like so hidden, so tucked away, and it really takes a lot of owning back. And it's just how it is. One of my strengths and weaknesses is that I'm just really um what's the word? Stubborn. for what it's worth. I'm a tourist. I'm just really stubborn, and my whole family is stubborn, and there's a lot of good parts about it. Also, my dad didn't only keep me down. He kept me down relative to him, but he enjoyed my and nurtured. In some ways, I was raised like a boy. He enjoyed my strength and power, and um, it went back and forth. It's crazy making to be in a loving, abusive relationship. It's very confusing. Um, but yeah, he didn't squash all of it, but he squashed enough to really fuck me up. Um, but my strength was valued um, in weird ways. So yeah. Okay. Anything else about that? Um, all right, we did this, we did this. Yeah, so like that anger that is being said to be not useful can be put into creating, connection with more men, getting together for barbecues and making a plan, making a place, building a center. Like there's all this stuff that can be done. Not, don't squash it, don't like pack it down with all the other shit. But like how can it be useful? Um, I think that's just really important. So also, so here's, so I keep talking about like it's important to center a person in, in the post-trauma enough to be able to start to get sea legs. And then it's really important to stop. So I have a few stories about this. One is that one of somebody I really care about um, chose a partner who had been really hurt in a relationship. And basically, the agreement became that that person really hurt in a relationship had to keep being cared for. Well, I've been really hurt. Well, right, like overly, just like,
Yeah.
and I could see, who knows? I mean, I'm not as close to them now, so I don't know, but like, I'm just like, oh man, that trajectory looks really unhealthy. It's like, no matter what happens, there's this trump card,
Yeah.
right? It's just like, and that's so unhealthy. It's like, no, that was the other person starting to be a lot of years ago. And you've had a lot of time to handle this, and I'll support you to continue to handle it. But you can't use this trump card every time you want your way, right? Like, y- I can't tiptoe around you. In relationship, I can't tiptoe around you all the time. That's just not right. It's not fair. It's not healthy. It's not equal. It undermines the equality of the relationship. So that's one example, right? Like, it's just like that whole, like, I had trauma can't just keep going, no matter how bad it is. Like, we need accommodations. We need da da da, like that are appropriate. And after that, if it's not needed anymore, discouraging the person to heal and grow and change. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important part of this conversation that I said before about like that victim is supposed to help us. Victim never helps us. It does not help us. sometimes we can get some compassion and help. We go to the hospital, we get help, whatever, and we might always walk with a limp, and that's just how it is. And we got to deal with it. I mean, you and I both experience that in our bodies. Like that's just how it is. And nobody should have to accommodate that all the time.
Yeah.
How does that fit with your relationship, with your experienced? I mean, we're both in long-term relationships.
Yeah, it's feel like in some ways we're responsible for which identities we're endorsing right now.
Mhm.
Like, um, I can be a person who there's lots of things true about, and one of those things happened to be that such and so occurred in my life. Or I can like only embrace that one event. And I think that's part of the trauma is, and part of the healing process is at first that status as somebody who is a victim or somebody who experienced that, however you want to express it. Like when you're first like
Yeah.
managing all that stuff, like yes, it's going to be there, that like that's the whole work is
Yep.
to right size the impact that that has on your
Yes.
life and who
Yes.
you are.
Yes.
And it's not fair for anybody to ever say, well, just let that part go. But it also doesn't have to be 10 times the size of the other stuff. And so when both my wife and I are at our best, we're busy being lots of different people. And one of those people is somebody who something happened to happen to. But when things get hard for either of us and we start to get too lost in one little portion of our respective identities, that kind of forces the other person into, like an hour ago, I was a husband of a person who had 20 different things that were true about them. Or she could say the same thing. An hour ago, I was married to somebody who is a comic book nerd and tells dad jokes and, um, you know,
Writes books.
writes books. There was 20 things that was true about me, but like the moment I'm starting to get not managing my trauma in a very healthy way. That's the most important thing there is about me. And everything
Yeah.
else is in 5-point type, while that's in bold-faced 100-point type
Yes.
about me. And so
Yes.
the only thing, like, so she, as a response, has to, or is going to be very tempted to be the wife of the person who was abused in 100-point bold-faced type. And everything else is
Yes.
just smaller and stuff.
Yes. It's really hard not to respond to that
Yeah.
because that happens for me. I get hooked on a picture. I get, really only with Michael. Um, because I'm most me. I'm most vulnerable. I'm
Yeah.
open,
Right.
unprotected. So sometimes I'll trip and I become difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. That may have been true once in 30 years for me, possibly twice back in the 90s or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So I need more grace, but I need to pick myself up. Like Michael
Yeah.
learned, it's just like if he can like figure out how to like go for a walk,
Yes.
then I'll handle myself. Um, but I do become sometimes it's hard to please.
Yeah.
Hooked.
Yeah. Same.
I say unhooked, then it's fine again. So yeah, I mean I don't mean to make this as broad brush like rules or anything. I'm just saying that maybe a different way to put it is something we talk about all the time in the early healer classes to find balance is we can't do, as sixth graders, we can't do homework for third graders. because it's easy for us as sixth graders or adults to do the multiplication tables. Should be, it usually is really easy. Um, but the third graders really need to do it because it's hard. And like there's so much temptation to do, I mean, it's just like it's so easy for me
Yes.
and it's so hard for you. But like that gets more and more out of balance, like never
Yeah.
mind multiplication, which is really hard for me, by the way. Um, I never really got multiplication like this until I was in engineering. It's just like I'd use it all the time and I had them. And then I didn't again because that's how my brain works. I have to like, I have to figure out stuff. It's riot, right? And it's just like, but some, what, what, what was learned in that is that I could do it when I was kept doing it, when it was like every day. Um, and so if I'm always helping with the limp, helping. And I want to say the other thing too, that, I so very soon after Michael and I got together, I started breaking, very extremely started breaking. Not just getting ill, but breaking. And we had to learn to accommodate that very, very much. And, it looked like that we go for a hike together and we start out together and then have fun. And he goes like twice as fast as I do. And then I go as long and far as I want to, and usually end up sooner than him back. And I do whatever I want to do until he comes back. And that makes the relationship work. And I'll say another thing, because my energy was so low for so long. I was housebound for years, but I was bedbound a good deal in those years. And some of his friends would be like, they thought he made me up after a while. They thought that he made me because I never would show up because I couldn't. And but he wouldn't always like it, but he'd just like go to new things or do new things or meet new people or do things, and I couldn't go. And that was sad for both of us, but that's how it was. And I think some people try to like do everything together. And it's like we would have had to get a divorce because he would have had a miserable life and we'd have hated each other. Right? Like I needed I needed to do what I could do, and he could do 100 times more than that. And like navigating that was really important, because we get to stay together for the good parts and we get to grow. So, right, I'm not saying don't like to be with reality. That's reality. Right, that's reality. But like he doesn't have to stay home to take care of me. He doesn't have to there. Like what I would have killed him if he was always there. You know? Right? It's just like this is how it is. Get over it. I'm getting over it as fast and best as I can. You get over it best as fast as you can. Deal with it in reality, but like don't treat me like a infant just because
Yeah.
I'm in the crib all the time. So, anyway, what do you have to say?
Like this makes me think a little bit about when I was involved in the evangelical church and things started going wrong for us as a family.
Yeah.
There was real moralizing about it. And it occurs to me that secular culture has a lot of the same vibes when it comes to chronic illnesses. That there is, in my experience, when people are experiencing chronic illnesses, the people who don't know that person will be like, well, why aren't you doing more yoga and drinking more
Oh,
cherry juice or something?
oh God.
Like you've suffered it your whole life, but I can solve your problems if you really want. Just
Yes.
do exactly the things that have always worked for me. Who
Yes.
doesn't have this illness, so it's completely, if you had diabetes, I wouldn't be like, you should just want the glucose more. But with invisible illnesses, it's completely different.
Yeah. It's hard. It's gotten so much better. I mean, it's been over 30 years now for me. And,
Yeah, that must have
you
been
know,
brutal back then.
God, it was brutal. It was. especially his mom. His mom was not enrolled. His mom was like, you should get a job. And of course, I got a part-time job as soon as I possibly could, in the scenario, because really, you could think, oh, laying around all day is fun. It is fun as like sprinkles on top. It is not fucking fun as the main course.
Yeah.
Um, Even for me. I like to think and read and meditate and write, but it's just like it's not fun. To not, and it's not fun to not work. It's not fun to not contribute, um, and connect. So, yeah, thanks. Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
So, a big important word here is responsibility. Like, not taking responsibility for them, but assisting. We say in our thing. I think that's a good place to stand.
Yeah.
So we are coming to the end. I just want to say the two last things I have. The very last thing I'll say first, which is that um, there's an idea that anger is bad, right? He's like, anger is not going to help here. It's like, what is this concept that anger is bad? Like all the emotions have reasons. They're all valid. They're all useful, or we wouldn't have them. But it's a matter of managing them. So I can go all into that and how we use the energy and how important it is. I mean, I could do hours on that. So I'll just say that it's just something to chew on, that anger is functional. And I will say, here's something I wrote this thing, I'll say it. I can't see it. I'll just say it's really important to have our anger, and it's very important to notice who wants to take it away from us. Because when we don't have anger, ownership, protection for me and mine, it sets us up for abuse. It sets us up for harm. It sets up our kids for harm if we take away their anger. So I just want to say that. I feel really strongly about it. Anything on that?
No, that hits deep though. That's just right.
Yeah, thanks. And I tend to go, remember I was saying the male and the female energy or whatever, and the guy, and I tend to go the other way. I tend to go more feminine. That's where I was thrown and that's where I was allowed. Um, and so I do dumb stuff. In the other direction, like I'm tempted to take care of my staff instead of letting them take care of me, which is their job. You know, I'm tempted to, there's times for their healing, and I'm tempted to listen and help them whenever they need it, like in the middle of when, it's like it's not appropriate, right? So like I'm right now looking at that. I'm right now being like, I gotta grow up on this. So I'm like telling on myself, like that's how it goes. And oh, also I've been fortunate to partner with both men and women, and it takes different skills. In some ways, it's so the same, so much the same, so much. But I did notice that I was only partnered with women for a long time, and then it was very healing. Um, and then I needed, because I'm bi, I needed more male energy, and I went the other way. And the first guy I chose was like I chose him from transition. I like was semi-conscious about it. It's like he had so much female energy. But after that, I had to like learn that, I used to have this like 5-point plan for conflict resolution, and you know well, that went over like a lead balloon, right? Like it was like I had to learn that it couldn't always be my way. I couldn't always like talk it all out as much as I want, right? Like and that I didn't have to. And now I'm just like, oh my God, thank God I don't have to talk it all out all the time. Right. So it's like the male and the female balance is just so important to watch, and it's so important to bring in and be willing to learn new things. So I think that's my final thing. What do you have to say?
I don't think I have anything to that seems like a fine place to end. I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I feel like I don't know if this is a helpful conversation. Has it been a helpful conversation for you,
Yeah, it
especially these
has.
lines? Can you say a little about that? Because I just
Yeah.
like the world.
It's it did what I was hoping to. I think in the beginning of the conversation of it's moving things inside for me. Um and like what I didn't anticipate that I'm chewing on a lot right now is one part of the like self-discovery I'm on right now is realizing just within the last maybe 18 months that I'm less cis and het than I would have identified as 2 years ago. And a lot of it for me is feeling like so much of the female stuff and male stuff is so socialized and enculturated and like, well, screw you, I'm gonna be who I want to be. And I'm not really interested, society, in your prescriptions of what that is supposed to look like. So in some ways it's like my queerness is very political,
Mhm.
or sociological at least. Um, and so talking through this is really helpful for all that too.
Oh, good. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks. I appreciate
yeah,
your listening. I appreciate your sharing and your
yeah,
perspective. And um, yeah, I hope that this serves
yeah. I
in the work
appreciate
that
your
you're doing.
time.
Okay. Thank you. I will see you next week.
Very good. Be well, my friend.